Now that certainly is a good looking sear on a steak. The Oklahoma Joe's dual fuel Canyon combo is very versatile when it comes to deciding what you're gonna cook for dinner. One side is an offset, and inside this chamber you have a charcoal basket where you can grill on it. And the other side is fueled with LP, and that makes it perfect for those nights when you're running late on dinner. When it came to the packaging and the assembly, well, this was the first time this has ever happened. Oklahoma Joe's delivered it assembled. So the boys said this grill is one of their favorites. And the boys, they personally want to thank Oklahoma Joe's for sending it pre-assembled. But there still was some assembly required because I had to hang the tool hooks. The first thing that you need to do on every single new grill that you get is what I like to call a burn off. And that's just simply burning out any debris or machining oil from the manufacturing process. And for this pit, we got two chambers that we need to burn off. Before you actually fire up the Canyon, I suggest you grab a can of cooking oil and spray down each chamber. This is actually just seasoning up the grill and can prevent a little bit of rust in the future. For the offset and charcoal side, I grabbed my chimney and just filled that up about 3/4 full. And I love that they got a couple grates on the firebox side because it's a perfect place to put your chimney when you're lighting it up. As that charcoal was starting to burn, I went right over to the LP side. I already mounted the tank, turned the knobs to ignite, and pressed the button. And one of the most rewarding feelings that I have when I'm testing out any gas grill is that all three burners light up immediately. If you got nice blue flames coming out of each burner, then just back the valves all the way down to low, close up the lid, and let it burn for about an hour. Once the charcoal was burning nice and clean in that chimney, part of it went into the charcoal chamber and the other part went into the actual firebox itself, and let it run until it was completely burnt out before I actually started to cook on the Canyon. A pretty fun test that we came up with was a gas versus a charcoal burger, and if or what are the differences. I completely filled up a chimney of charcoal, got that lit, and then started the LP side. And that side of the Canyon only took about 6 to 7 minutes to preheat, so I could get to cooking on that side of the pit while the charcoal was still being lit. I like a medium to medium well burger, and it's more of a texture thing than actual doneness for me. And at the 15-minute mark, these LP burgers were done. I got a decent char on these 85 15 1/4-pound patties, and it was a great time for a taste test because I was still waiting for that charcoal to be burning clean. And as far as the taste test, well, it certainly passed for a weekday burger. After 20 minutes, now you can see that the charcoal still isn't ashed over yet, so it's a good time to just let it preheat. At the 30-minute mark from when we actually first started lighting up that chimney, we reached 450 degrees. After rotating and cooking them to a medium well, we can finally get to a taste test on the charcoal side. So that means it took us a total of 40 minutes to cook these burgers over charcoal. For me, it was totally worth it because these burgers are bussin' with some smoky charcoal flavor. Now for the comparison, you can see that both sides were able to achieve a good char. The ones on the top were cooked with LP and the ones at the bottom with charcoal. For me, it all depends on time. Do I have 30 to 40 minutes to create the ultimate tasting burger? Or is the Packer game gonna start soon and you only got about 20 minutes before kickoff, so you fire up the gas side? I mean, the LP side burgers are still good, but I certainly can taste a difference when they're cooked over charcoal instead. When it comes to cooking on the Canyon as an offset, it can get a little tricky. These small little chambers can get really hot really fast, and they can have large temp swings, and that's why I actually control my temperatures with fuel instead of running back and forth between the vents and adjusting them all day. So first I take about 20 to 25 briquettes and evenly put them inside the firebox. Then on top I scatter a few chunks of wood. For this beef rib cook, I'm using post oak. The next step, I take about 15 briquettes, put them in a chimney, chimney and get that lit. Once those briquettes are burning clean, I pour them into one corner over the top of my existing charcoal in the firebox. Let those preheat the canyon to about 225 degrees and then throw in the ribs. Once I get close to 275 degrees, I completely close the bottom intake vent on the offset firebox, and I close the stack less than half on the chamber. Now, if my temperatures are continuing to climb, I will close the stack a little bit more. It isn't completely airtight, so it might take you a few cooks to get the hang of how to set it up. As soon as my temperature is dropped about 25 degrees, then I add in 10 to 15 more briquettes and maybe even another chunk of wood. What I typically look for is that my temperatures do not exceed over 350 degrees or drop below 200. Now, I don't want any of my barbecue cooking at 350 degrees, but these small little chambers, they can heat up pretty quickly. But don't open up the lid, because that's just going to give you more airflow and your fuel in the firebox is going to ignite faster. So your best bet is just to let it ride. If there's one mistake that I did during this cook, is that I had too many pieces of wood at the start. I should have only had 3 chunks of wood in there instead of 5, and it only ran for about 30-35 minutes at 325 degrees. Pretty much for the rest of that cook, it was hovering right around 250 to 275 degrees. Now, one thing, if you are in a crunch, you could always get some smoke on it from the offset side and then cook it over indirect over on the LP side. As far as these beef ribs went, I was impressed with the smoke ring that I got and the bark. I didn't wrap them, I just ran them straight through, and they took right around 6 hours. But one thing for certain, these beefers were juicy. To sum up the actual cooking test on the Canyon, the gas grill side, it gets hot and it gets hot fast. It is great for quick dinners. Like doing up some chicken tenders, set the burners on low so it's cooking at 450 degrees, get the tenders in there, rotate them a few times, and start checking temps. But doesn't it always seem when you're grilling, you have one piece that's stubborn and it doesn't want to get done? But you know, eventually it reaches a temperature and it's done. Now, I just took those tenders and sliced them up, and the kids were certainly happy because they used them for quesadillas throughout the week. Now, when it comes to the charcoal side, I call this more the fancy style dinner. You want to impress some people with some beautifully grilled ribeyes, and that's simple enough. I just threw in about 25 briquettes in the bottom of the cooking pan in the chamber, lit up a full chimney, dumped it in, and once they were all ashed over and I was running about 500 degrees, it was time to get the searing. Now, I did make a mistake, and yes, that's the first one in 3 years. I forgot to spray the grates down with a little bit of Pam before I put the steaks on the grates itself. So that first turn, I did have a little bit of stickage, and I left all that beautiful char stuck to the grill grate. Now, even if I did make a mistake, I still got some really decent charring and sear on those steaks. I mean, there's a couple of them there that look almost perfect. When it comes to the cleanup on the Canyon, it's like every grill. Scrape down all the grates, but like on the charcoal side, get inside that chamber, take out that ash tray, dump it, clean it off good, and put it back in. The offset side features this nice little pull-out little ash tray that's really easy to dump and clean out too. Now, the only thing that we do once in a while on any type of ash charcoal type of cooker is that we will take our shop vac after the ash is all completely cooled down and suck some of it out. I only do it because we have the equipment, but I would suggest that you get some Pam, and at the bottom of each chamber, spray them down real well, because it'll help prevent any extra rusting. Now let's talk a little bit about the creature comforts on the Canyon. The versatility of having dual fuel makes it almost impossible not to be able to cook anything in the backyard. You have your classic offset design, and on both the firebox and the chamber itself, you can direct grilling them, because on the firebox, you have grates in there too. And last but not least, you have the LP side, which is powered with 36,000 BTUs. The first thing that I noticed when I started to do the burn-off is how quick this little chamber heated up. We have 750 square inches of cooking space combined between these two chambers, and in the firebox with the grates in, you have 281 square inches, which is over 1,000 square inches, but it's going to be a little tricky to cook in each chamber. Each of the main cooking chambers has a nice lid thermometer. All of the little doors that can open up have these nice little handles that are typically cool to the touch. For any type of cooks that you want to add wood to your cooks, I suggest either you really make sure that your wood is nice and dry and seasoned, or just buy a bag of this Western stuff. I love that on both sides of the chamber you have a port where if you wanted to add like a meat thermometer or an ambient probe temperature, open up the port, put your probe through, and just shove it in the meat. I got an ambient probe, so you still get the point. You have an electronic ignition, and they even send you a matchstick holder that's hooked to a chain so you won't lose it. You have a nice and sturdy side shelf, but I wish it was a tad longer because I got some pretty big cutting boards, but I never had any issues with it feeling like it was gonna fall off. You have this nice little front shelf, which I don't use a lot, but it was nice having it because it was easy to pull my grates out of the chamber and just have a place to set them while I was inside loading up the charcoal. I already mentioned that we have these nice beautiful tool hooks. I absolutely love this middle shelf because it's a perfect spot to place my hot chimney. I can keep it out of my way so I don't have to worry about bumping up against it and burning up my ankle. And we have the bottom shelf which stores your LP tank and a perfect place for some wood chunks. We've got 2 pegged legs and 2 wagon wheels. The Canyon weighs almost 160 pounds, so it's not the easiest to move around, but because of those big wagon wheels, it rolls pretty smooth. And lastly, you have this grease clean out for the LP side. Now I know a lot of you out there are wondering, what is Ricer's opinion? For me, it was positive because I enjoy the challenge of cooking on this little offset. And I tell everyone this, if you can cook on a cheaper box store offset, you certainly will be able to cook on a handcrafted offset in the future. Dual fuel grills are so versatile that it makes it so nice for any new beginner backyarder to be able to tinker with different styles of cooking. And I think for a lot of people, it is a stepping stone into what they want to purchase next. Some people go in the direction of buying a larger offset because they just can't fit enough barbecue in this small little chamber. And honestly, I think it pushes a lot of people into more of the conveniences of like a pellet grill because it's too much dinking around running this firebox. And 100% that is the biggest con. It's gonna take time and dinking around to be able to learn how to run the offset part of it compared to like running a pellet grill. But honestly, with the charcoal wood combination, I think you get a little bit better flavor off your barbecue. And just look at those beef ribs again. That is some beautiful bark that this little pit developed. Now, if you're looking for more information on the Oklahoma Joe's Canyon Combo, check the description below. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.